Hello everybody, are you ready for the supplementary reader now? We are going to do unit 4 today, and the title of the unit is The Treasure Within. Now, one or two things you must remember. When we do a supplementary reader, we do it differently from the main course book, the honeydew. Now, when we do the supplementary reader, our focus is on reading faster, and we read faster with a lot of understanding, and so we don't wait to read everything in detail. We do what we call skimming. That means we roll over the important points in the textbook and quickly come over to the end of it and start talking. In a supplementary reader, we talk a lot. So, today we are going to do unit 4. Are you ready? Good. In unit 4, we have a very important and a very interesting discussion between two people. We have a discussion between Miss Bela Raja and Mr. Hafiz Contractor. Both are very important, interesting people, and so we shall see what happens in this unit. Are you ready? Good. Now take a look at your books, open unit 4 and look at one or two important things that are said there. Let's read what's been said at the top there. It says, shall we move on to unit 1, to the part 1 of unit 4? Good. It says, Hafiz Contractor was an unhappy schoolboy. Did you see there? Right. He loved doing things, but detested mechanical learning. You know mechanical learning? The routine kind of learning which teachers ask you to do. Mathematics gave him shivers. He was scared of mathematics. What his principal once said to him influenced him very deeply. So, let's see what happens here. Are we ready? Good. There is a word nightmare. Do you get the word there? Can you see the meaning of the word given there at the bottom of the page? Nightmare, what does it say? Haunting fear or frightening dream. A haunting fear or something which frightens you, a dream, and that's a nightmare. I hope you don't have any nightmares. Okay, shall we go on? Good. All right. Let's turn the page. Let's go to the next page. Page number 26. All right. The question now is, we are going to know a number of things about Hafiz Contractor. Now, one of the first things we want to know about Hafiz Contractor is, was he a good student at school? Look at the top of the page. I used to be interested in sports, games, running around, playing jokes and pranks on others. Very interesting. I would copy in class during exam times. How frank, very clear about it. He used to copy from the others. Okay. I would try to get hold of the examination paper that had been prepared and study it, not the books. He would study the examination paper. Somehow get hold of that question paper and study it and get ready for the exams. How nice. I would try to get hold of the examination paper that had been prepared, study it, as I could not remember things that had been taught to me in class. Now, this is very interesting. He had a problem with remembering things that were taught in the class, forget them. And so what would he do? Try and catch hold of the examination paper and study it and get ready for the examination. I hope you are not doing that, okay? I hope you are all good students who listen to what the teacher says in the class and don't get hold of the examination paper. None of those things, as what Hafiz Contractor did. How interesting. Very good. So somehow he reached 11th standard, doing all these very interesting things. And one day the principal called him. It was 11th standard, and next year is 12th standard, you see. And so he has got the final examination, and once 12th standard is over, he has to leave the school and go out and be on his own. There won't be any of these things thereafter, and that's the end. And so he has to be on his own. And so the principal calls him, and calls him one day, look at the middle of the paper, that I used to be a good sportsman. I had been the senior champion for so many years, and I was also the cricket captain. All this is your background. And I used to play every game. And that year I did not step out onto the field. Why not? Because it was 11th standard and so on. So eventually he got a second class. He passed out with 50% marks. Good enough. And so the principal called him. Says, son, look at the bottom of the page there. Consider yourself as having got a distinction. 50% is a distinction for you at this stage. That was the memory of my school days. Now, I did a lot of other things. Look at the last paragraph there. So you see, as far as my things are concerned, I can't remember what other things I did because I forget things very easily. I remember. In order to remember, I have to see things as a photograph. You see? So I have to see a picture, and only then I can remember. If you lecture me, I can't remember. If you write something, oh no, I may not be able to remember at all. I can look at a book. I can remember the matter as a photograph. This is very interesting. Here is a boy who can see the book, and whatever he sees in the book, he can remember like a photograph. But not thorough in my mind. I cannot think about it in my mind. That is how it works. And so this boy had a problem. The problem is, if he listens to something, if you say something, no, he won't remember that. If he sees something, maybe yes, that will remember like a photograph. But if you ask him to think about it, no, he can't think about it. Strange problem. Look, when you look at Hafiz Contractor, I want you to look at his personality very carefully. What sort of a boy he is, and compare him with yourselves. Okay? What type of students you are. How do you treat some of these very important problems? And therefore, we are going to look a little more about him. But before we do that, take a look at his photograph there. You can see his beautiful photograph, thinking a lot, and now, but those were his school days and so on. And now you can imagine what sort of a grown-up man he is. But still, let's get back to his school days and see what happened there. The questionnaire asks, how were you treated by your teachers in the school? Hafiz Contractor simply says, nothing special. I did not do my homework. I did not do anything. I did not remember anything. So the teacher called me. I went and said, show me your hand. Showed my hand. Got caning on the hand. It was very painful. And so he said, oh my God, fine. So caning, regular, came back and it pained for some time, and that was the end of it. Nothing more to my school days. That's all I remember about it. So there was regular caning. So much so that one day he plays a trick. He doesn't want the teacher to teach. Boring. So what he does is, he says, shall we play a game? Teacher says, okay, what game? Okay, we will play hide and seek. And everybody plays hide and seek for 1 hour. And Hafiz is very happy because he didn't have to listen to the teacher. And everyone was fooled. It was a beautiful trick played there, and for 1 hour he didn't have to study and he played. Playing is something he loved a lot, and you know. So what a trick he plays. Wonderful. And so there it is, hide and seek for 1 hour. How nice, good. We call it chor police. In Hindi they call it chor police. Chor, you know, and police. They have to find out the chor. The police have to find out the chor. Excellent, very good, all right. And one day he plays another trick. Once a week, because this was what is called a boarding school. You know a boarding school? Where children stay boarding. They board in a hostel. And so all these children stay in the hostel and go to the school, attend the school classes and come back to their hostel again. Now in this hostel, in this boarding school, they had a practice. Once a week they were allowed to go to a cinema, a film. So what Hafiz did was, he collected money from everybody. So he had lots of money. So he bought some tickets for everyone, took them to the cinema. All of them went to the cinema and had a good, regular outing. But then this Hafiz had some extra money with him, saved from the tickets. And so he went out alone, quietly, to a wonderful restaurant and had a hearty meal. How he enjoyed the meal. All from others' money. And that's the kind of boy we have here, who loved to play, to enjoy life. Not bothered about the school and class and things like this. And one of the things that he also enjoyed was making small gangs, rowdies, gangs, fights, and plan fights. And plan it in such a way that they will say that, okay, next, who is the next? Okay, we'll fight with that fellow. And so gang fights, gang wars, and this was what Hafiz contractor also enjoyed. Gangs, making up gangs and things like this. Very good. Okay. Now the question is he honest? Do you think he is honest in all this? Oh, certainly. You see, here is a boy who has no hesitation to tell you that he did not like classrooms, he did not like all whatever happened, but then he enjoyed other things and so on, games, sports, gang, all kinds of things. Isn't he honest? Of course he is. How nice. Good. So, you have seen the picture of his contractor, donor boy and so on. How good. Very good. Now, there are some difficult words and their meanings are given at the bottom of the page. I want you to see them. Can you? Okay, look at the bottom there. It says caning. You know caning? Where the teacher uses a cane and that's as a punishment. Beat you with a cane. Incur the wrath of your teacher. Wrath, W-R-A-T-H, is anger. And incur is getting the anger of your teacher on you. Distraction. You are watching something and you are distracted, which means your interest goes somewhere else. You are distracted. You are not able to concentrate. Lack of concentration for a moment is what is called distraction. Right, and so on. I'm sure you can see the meanings there and they sort of fit in very well with the text. Can you do that part? Okay. Look at the top of the next page. It says something very interesting. Hafiz contractor's books were in great demand next year. So all textbooks this year, there was a great demand for those textbooks next year by the students next year. Why? Because the books looked almost new always. So I can imagine this boy never touched the books. So they were always fresh and new, and everybody wanted his books next year. How interesting. You are not like that. I hope you use your books very well. Okay, good. But that's Hafiz contractor for us, which is perfectly all right. Shall we now take a quick look at the comprehension questions? I'm sure you'll be able to answer these questions fairly comfortably. Anyway, let's have a look at them. It says, what did Hafiz contractor have nightmares about? What did he have nightmares about? What's the answer? Science? Sports? No. Mathematics. He used to fear mathematics, maths, scared about maths all the time. What did the principal say to him which influenced him deeply? The principal said, you have scored 50% and treat that as distinction. Now you are on your own. We are no longer there. I can't help you anymore. Now you have to look after him. Look after yourself hereafter. That's good. And so on. You can see the rest of the questions. Let's move on to part 2. Shall we? Good. Come over to part 2. Look at those top 3 things which are said there. Shall we read them out? Right. Take a look at it very closely. He stumbled on architecture because he knew little French and less German. He stumbled on architecture. He happened to come down to architecture, do architecture, because he knew a little French and he did not know any German. Let's see about it a little later. He was offbeat even in the pranks that he played on others. Offbeat, very unusual. Look at the bottom of the page. Unusual or unconventional. Offbeat is unconventional, which means not something that everybody did. Anything that anybody does, which is not what everybody does, is offbeat, unusual. So he was offbeat even in the pranks that he played on others. When he found his calling, there was no looking back. When he found his calling here means not calling somebody, no. It means something that you are interested in doing. When you are interested in doing something, we say you have found your calling. I want to be a naval officer. Oh, I say. Okay, very good. I want to work in mines. Oh, very good. You want to work in mines. Okay. I want to be a space researcher. Okay. So when you choose, I want to be a musician. Oh, that's very good. Now I want to be a dancer. Very good. Now when you find what you want to do and you love to do it, we say you have found your calling. So let's see what was the calling that Hafiz contractor found eventually. Good. All right. Now the question is, look at that part 2. How did you get into the field of architecture? How did he get into the field of architecture? He is one of our renowned architects in the country today. Now he says a few things. If you want to get into architecture, you have to get into a college of architecture, school of architecture, college of architecture. And there, the required percentage of marks is 85. 85% marks. And how much has Hafiz got? 50%. So will he get it in the school of architecture? No chance. So what is the next chance? The choice? The next choice is, he says, I will go to the army. So he applies to the army. And his aunt says, nothing doing. You are not going into the army. Okay. Next. Police. I will join the police force. Mom says, nothing doing. No police for you. So no army, no police. And so what is next? Join some college. So he goes and joins Jai Hind College in Mumbai, Bombay. It used to be called Bombay then. So he joins that college. And how does he get his place there? Because he has studied French for 7 years. 7 years he has studied French. So does he know French? No. But you see, he gets his 50%, gives him admission into that college. So he joins that college. So he's get, okay, no French in that college, but what is there? German. Okay, all right. If it is not French, I will join German. So he joins German, starts on German, learning German language. Unfortunately, what happens? The poor German language teacher dies. He's gone, dead. So, end of German. Next, back to French. Okay, he does his French and that's his next thing. So did he eventually become an architect? That's very interesting. It's very interesting to know. Oh, he doesn't become an architect just like that. There is something very interesting. One day he goes with his aunt to uncle's architecture business center. Uncle runs his own architecture concern. So he goes there and he watches what people do. Everybody is doing drawings and this and that. And one person is drawing a window. He has sketched a window. Hafiz looks at that. He says, that drawing is wrong. It's not correct. So the person who is drawing it, he says, what? My drawing is incorrect? How? Hafiz says, in your drawing, you cannot open the window. What? I can't open the window? No, you can't, he says. Oh, bet? Yes. Can you show me then? So he shows how the drawing is wrong. It has an error. And he draws, and that person agrees, accepts. Oh yes, yeah, my drawing is wrong. You are right. And uncle notices it. He says, what? You did that? Okay, can you do some more? All right. So uncle gives him some more things to draw. He says, you draw. And he draws. Hafiz draws them. And uncle is very impressed. He says, oh my God, you fellow, you're fit to become an architect. Okay? All right. I will put you into architecture. Okay? All right. Take you to architecture college. The principal there looks at his drawings and he says, okay, I will admit you, but on one condition. And that is, although you have got 50% and 85% is the required marks here, I will admit you. But you should not fail. Okay? This is fine. And he joins the architecture college, and believe me, he gets A+ in every semester. And he is right on top all the time in all the semesters. Fantastics. One very important thing here. Hafiz tells us that he had two important abilities. One, if he looked at a structure from the top, he could understand immediately how it looked. You know, imagine going on top of Taj Mahal and imagine you are a drone looking on top from the top of Taj Mahal and you are looking down below at Taj Mahal. Can you imagine how Taj Mahal looks? Any structure? Go to Tanjavur temple and go on top, and can you imagine how Tanjavur temple would look like? Go on top of a cricket stadium. Now, Hafiz contractor had this ability. He could visualize what something looked like from the top. In a similar manner, supposing you drew something, you're an architect, you drew something, and let's say you cut it in half. Like the way you cut your birthday cake. Supposing you cut it right from the top to the side, and you looked at one half only from the side, and you looked at the half. Can you imagine what that half would look like? Hafiz contractor could visualize that. He had that ability to visualize, to see what a cut plan would look like. These were enormous things, and that made him a contractor. This was a gift he had. And so he says, great. So he becomes a great contractor. Now, when he was in the lower standard, second, third, fourth standard, he had a teacher, Mrs. Gupta, and she used to see his drawings, and she had said, Hafiz, you should become an architect when you grow up, and you will become an architect. And Hafiz says, when he became an architect, finally, he goes to Mrs. Gupta, meets her, and tells her, ma'am, as you said, I am now an architect. Look at this boy. You see, he doesn't forget ma'am at all. His good old teacher in fourth standard, and goes back to her and says, ma'am, I am now an architect. Such a humble, good. So, what was he good at school? So far we saw lots of negative things about him, what he was not good at, what problems he had, and so on. So what was he really good at? Can you see the top of page 30? It says, I was very bad at languages. Science and geography I could deal with. But maths was very hard. So science and geography were okay for me, but maths very hard. I just was not interested. I was studying for the sake of studying. Somehow I had to study, and so I was studying. What they taught me today, I would forget after 2 days. Very good, very honest. How nice. I would not bother because there was no application of mine there to begin with. Whatever they taught in the exam, I was supposed to reproduce, vomit it, throw it out. So by heart and throw it out. There was no thinking there, and so it didn't matter. Whatever they taught, I forgot after 2 days, and I was very comfortable with it. I didn't bother. Now, says B.R. asks him, look at the middle of the page. There is a contention, there is an idea that giftedness, somebody who is very gifted, and learning disabilities, they go hand in hand. Those who are very gifted, those are very brilliant, too intelligent, they will have some learning difficulties. Certain things they can't learn. Do you think this applies to you? She asks. And Hafiz contractor says, well, you see, if you really look at it, if you really look at my life, in a way, this is what happened to me also, But I must tell you that just because you're gifted or brilliant and you're doing very well in the school, that doesn't mean that you will be a great success always in your career later on. No, which is not true. Just because you're on the top all the time, you answer all questions very correctly, perfect answers, doesn't mean that you will do very well later in your life, because Hafiz says there are many people who are very gifted, who seem to be very brilliant, extraordinary at school, but who are doing very ordinary today. You see? Therefore, just because somebody is right at the top need not mean that that person will do very well later in life. This was Hafiz's view, and now it's up to you to think it over and discuss that with your friends. Does it mean that all those who are at the top of the school ranks, does it mean that all of them will do very well later in society, in their careers? Something that you must discuss. Okay, let's go one step further. Hafiz says he learnt many things on his own at school. Lots of things. Not what the teachers told him all the time. No. So he uses the word street smart. I was street smart. What does street smart mean? A very interesting idea. When you go out, you see lots of these boys who know lots of things. They have not been to school or anything, but they know quite a few things. For example, you have seen lots of these boys who can repair your motorcycle in no time. They will touch it, they will do this, and the motorcycle is ready. How did they learn? Where did they learn? Did they do a B mechanical automobile? No, they didn't do any of those things. They just picked it up like that on the street with others, and that's it. That's what is called street smart. So he says one of those things he learned in school is to be street smart. He learned lots of things on his own. Look at this, girls and boys. All of you should also be street smart. Not just depend on everything that the school teaches you. No, you must observe, go out, watch all these little boys who are very smart, who can do lots of things, and you go to them in no time and they will repair it for you. And that's called street smart, and that's what you should all also become. In addition to being very good students in schools and things like this. Okay, how was it different at school? Look at the middle of page 31. He says, I would think of the flowing water, and when I look at the flowing water, I would think how to build a dam to stop that water from flowing. How to build a dam to block it. I would be thinking about the flow of water within the dam and how much water the dam would be able to hold. Look at that. That was my interest for the day. So he would see the flowing water out there, and he's thinking how much water is flowing, how to build a dam, how much water can the dam hold, how big should it be with this flow, and how will it flow inside the dam itself, and how strong the dam should be, and so on. So this is what he was taking, sitting inside the class when he watched rains and the flowing water. And that was the kind of boy he is. On page 31, there is a very beautiful picture. Look at that picture. It's a picture of a building that Hafiz contractor designed. Is that a regular building? Not at all. Look at it very closely. Watch it. Look at the several angles. Look at the various things that he has built in the building, on the building, and right up to the top. Look at that. It's a very unusual angular kind of building which has a depth, and it has so many chambers within it, and you can see how that building has been built inside, outside, everywhere, and so many things have gone into that particular thinking. So, having said all these things, Hafiz is also a brilliant fellow. You know, as a brilliant architect, he has a new concept of mathematics. It's not just those sums, addition, subtraction. No, it's not just that. Look at the next page and look at the top of the page. He says, call it instinct, call it arithmetic, whatever. Now it comes to me like mathematics. Architecture comes to me like mathematics. How does it come to me like mathematics? Putting design, construction, psychology and sociology. I will look at the person who comes to me for a building. I keep talking to him for quite some time, and when I keep talking to him, I know what is in his mind, what are his ideas, what are his plans, what does he want, and I know how much he can spend, how much money he is willing to invest. And so as we are talking, my mind is working on all these things and creating an architectural piece for him. I can design it and give it to him by the time he finishes his talk, and he is very happy. This planning, this thinking in my mind is mathematics for me now. That is my arithmetic. What is that arithmetic? It thinks, it plans, it designs, it puts together all his ideas and looks at the person and looks at people and then designs something, and that is architecture for me, and it's full of mathematics. Isn't he brilliant? Do you say that just because he failed in mathematics, he was scared, he had nightmares, that he cannot be a mathematician? No. Architecture is full of mathematics. Okay, let's take a look at the comprehension questions now. It says comprehension check. Look at all these questions. Hafiz contractor wanted to join the police force. Why didn't he? And so on. You can look at all that. But I want you to look at question number 6 in particular. It says, what is Hafiz contractor's definition of mathematics? It involved thinking, planning, designing, looking at the person's psychology, which is the person's thinking, the person's sociology, which means the person's ability to spend, how much he can spend, all these things. That is what it meant. Mathematics meant all that. How would you want to define mathematics? How would you like to define mathematics? What an interesting subject. Do you like the subject? So mathematics, is it just a subject, or is it also thinking, planning, organizing, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all that is happening in your mind? Is that mathematics? Oh yes, in a way yes. That was mathematics for Hafiz contractor. And so now you can tell your friends what you mean by mathematics. How nice, excellent, very good. Let's ask a few questions here. In exercise down there in the middle of that page, look at that. Look at question number 2. Look at it very carefully, and I am going to read it out for you. Who, in your view, is an unusual learner? Was Hafiz contractor an unusual learner? Yeah? Yes, he was. Did he follow all the rules? Was he like all the others? No. But was he special? Yes. Did he become someone special later on? Yes. Could you predict it when he was at the school? We don't know. In other words, when we look at this particular lesson, what should we learn from this? Now it says, for example, the lesson is something about the inner talent that is there in all of us. All of us need to look within us. And if we look within us, it's possible that we might find something else there. There's a treasure within. There was a treasure within Hafiz contractor which could not be seen, but it could be seen by Mrs. Gupta, remember. But that treasure within later on became such an important thing, not just for Hafiz contractor, but for the entire country. We are so blessed that we have such a person. So all of you have a treasure within you, and you must discover that, and when you discover that, you will become somebody great later on. So don't worry about it. Look at all those successful people around you. Look at your brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts and so on. Look what they have become, and how did they become all that? Were they that? And now you go to them, meet them, have an interview with them, ask them these questions the way Bella has asked here, and then find out how they grew up and what was the treasure within them which later on blossomed, became important and made them what they are today. What made them become successful? Nice? Did you enjoy the lesson? Thank you so much. Meet again.